Hello everybody. How are we doing? How's it going? We are live. And yes, it does look like we are live. And welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast. I run over here on youtube.com/UC Campbell, and it is the week well, as of this moment, it's a little bit later in the day than when we usually want to do this, but it is Sunday, September the 30th. We are nearing the end of October here for everybody on this particular year. It is like I said, it's 2018. It's September the 30th, and we had a very interesting week. And it wasn't necessarily all about news that was going on outside of the ring. It was more stuff that was going on the inside of the ring. We didn't really have too terribly much of the terms of news going on throughout the week. We did currently, as I am starting this stream at this time, Fighting Spirit is going on. I think they're on the main event match for Fighting Spirit. If not, it may be over with at this time. To go along with that, I have watched a good chunk of it. The Gorillas of Death, for quick results for people who might want to watch this a little bit later time. A few quick results of what's going on over there. We have new IWGP tag team champions. The Gorillas of Destiny beat the Young Bucks in their match to become the IWGP heavyweight tag team champions. Marty Scurll also went to the finals of the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship as well, by beating Will Ospreay in his match. And Cody actually picked up the IWGP United States Championship. And it's definitely a very interesting one. So now Cody is a dual champion, while the Young Bucks are officially, I think, out of titles at this point in time, as the Batman joins into the chat to go along with everything. And of course we have our moderator back into the chat, the Batman. The myth and the legend is back this week on our chat, patrolling the chat, and well, for anybody who comes in, to keep everybody in line as well, to go along with it. So it was a very interesting week outside of just wrestling news. Like I said, in the terms of what's going on in New Japan, those were the major matches that were going on. Another heavy note on that one, what was it? Gato and Switchblade Jay White beat Tanahashi, and who was he tagging up with? I forget. I forget who he was tagging up with tonight. I forget at the moment. But the main aspect behind this is in that tag match, with help with Brass Knuckles, by the way, Jay White picked up a win over Tanahashi, and then basically was wondering where his shot at the particular briefcase that says that Tanahashi has a world title match at Wrestle Kingdom. He's wondering where his shot is, because he beat him in G1, and he basically cut a promo on that to say, he's like, I want my shot. Where is it? And when's it going to happen? I want it. So basically challenging Tanahashi to a match to go along with it. As of everything for next week, it's going to be a very interesting one, and I don't know how we're going to really do the entire thing next week, because usually I go over Raw and SmackDown and everything to go along with that, but I usually do that on Sundays. But on Saturday, or is it going to be Friday night or Friday morning? I forget which one it's going to be. It's either Friday or Saturday. We're going to have Super Showdown in Australia. It's going to be super early in the morning, everything to go along with that. So I think next week's episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle might be a review of that particular show, and we might skip over the entire aspect of going through Raw and SmackDown. We'll continue going through Mixed Match Challenge and Mae Young Classic and NXT and everything on that side. But when it comes to Raw and SmackDown next week, I don't know if that's going to be the case, just due to the fact that we are, just due to the fact that they'll kind of be moot by that point, with maybe the exception of a couple of things to go along with that. I will be filming predictions probably early in the week and getting those up to you guys for viewing as well. So you'll probably see that coming along that way to go along with it. I might be doing so over the last few weeks I have gotten a few things. I might be doing unboxings for them. And you'll kind of see what they are. What they are are some of the trading cards. I've gotten some of the WWE trading cards from Topps. I've got a set of this year's Heritage set in the terms of a box, so I might go through an unboxing of those. It's like 24 packs of the cards and everything. Should be an interesting one, I think. Maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of coming up. Well, not necessarily coming up with new ideas, but just coming up with ideas of things that I could try doing on the channel throughout the week to go along with it, whether it be wrestling related or video game related to go along with it on that side of everything. And it's one of those things is where I'm trying to figure out where I'm going. I'm kind of prolonging this before I get into Monday Night Raw this week to go along with everything, kind of going over what I want to do a little bit for the week as well. I do have a few things outside of the wrestling area to get put up, and I've got to start working on those. I'll probably start working on those as soon as I'm done with this. I was doing a little bit of the network test for Soul Calibur 6, so I've got some matches recorded, and that should be going up on the channel. I was going to be putting up my Shadow of Tomb Raider playthrough over here, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. It didn't because I did upload the first part to the channel. The one problem with it is that it didn't get a copyright strike on it, but it did get copyright to it. For, I guess, some music or something like that. And I don't want that kind of on this channel. If it's going to have some copyright issues, I don't want it to be on this channel. That might end up on my playthroughs channel, which is, a link is in the description for that one as well. So I don't know what we're going to do with it yet. I'm still continuing on with it over on the other thing that apparently people at YouTube apparently have issue with, which is the other streaming service. The link's in the description for that one as well. Don't worry about it. You'll be able to see it, and if you do want to see a playthrough for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I will be continuing that probably sometime this week as well to go along with it. But that is kind of enough of news and things that we're going to be doing here on the channel to go along with it, go along with everything on that one. Let's get into it this week. Like I said, there wasn't a heavy amount of news on wrestling side, but we did have some interesting stuff happen on Monday Night Raw. Oh boy. Last week we got into a political bit, and this week we've got to talk about a injury on Monday Night Raw, which we will talk about here in a few moments. Monday Night Raw this week, overall, I actually thought was a pretty decent show. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. It just wasn't great. It wasn't great, and it did have a good chunk of filler in there. And you also had a few little interesting snippets. You did have a very good story kind of brewing up throughout the entire show, based around Dean Ambrose and this whole thing with Dean Ambrose. Is he going to turn on the Shield? Is he not going to turn on the Shield? Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre were approaching him throughout the entire thing. They kind of overkilled it throughout the entire bit. We'll get into that a little bit more throughout the entire show. So the show actually starts off with more of a cold open. It wasn't out in the arena. They were back in the backstage area. A limo pulls up. Corbin opens the door. It's Stephanie and Triple H, and I like how they did this. Stephanie gets out of the car, gets out of the limo, And Corbin's trying to sing happy birthday to her and everything on that. And then as soon as Triple H walks out, he just shuts up. He just shuts up completely. And Stephanie basically was not happy that Corbin put himself in a Universal title match. So they're playing it off as that Stephanie is, if she doesn't feel like your decisions are good, if she doesn't care if you're face or heel or anything on that side, she is going to just destroy you verbally in every way, shape, or form, threatening to bring Kurt Angle back. And she makes a match for Baron Corbin to find 2 partners to go up against the Shield because he was having problems with the Shield on that side of everything. So this leads us to the actual open out in the arena where the Shield does come out. Basically, they were cutting promos on Dolph, Drew, and Braun Strowman throughout the entire bit. Dean Ambrose calls himself workhorses. Roman and Seth starts talking about it, and it's like they proclaim having like what was the bit? They were like saying with their hard work, and they show, and it shows in their effort and what they have. And both Roman and Seth hold up their titles as Dean kind of goes to the background a little bit, and he gives a bit of a weird look. This to everything to go along with it. This does bring out Baron Corbin, but it also he starts cutting a bit. His promo was all right, but it wasn't great. Nothing really memorable about the promo. Just saying that he was going to impress his boss. Just saying that he was going to impress his boss tonight in their tag match, and he was going to have 2 partners to go along with it. This does eventually bring out Braun, Dolph, and Drew McIntyre out to the arena for them to basically start the program throughout the entire night, planting the seeds for Dean Ambrose heel turn. Basically, they make mention to it being 4-on-2 at Super Showdown, and of course, Seth is like, no, 3-on-3. And it's like, no, it's like they basically planted the seeds throughout the entire thing. It's like, of what did they do for you, Dean? Like, these 2 are using you, and they do this throughout the night as well. Like I said, they overkilled it a little bit to make it really seem like that they were going to go with the heel turn, but it didn't end up happening throughout the night on that one. Like I said, I thought it was pretty. I thought that stuff was decent throughout the night as well. And so basically, they were planting those seeds throughout the entire, throughout this portion, saying that they use you. They didn't text you while you were out for 9 months. Dolph was like, I saw you on SmackDown. You were winning titles on your own, doing everything on that side, and just trying to do everything in their power to get into Dean's head to make him turn on the Shield, on his brothers, the Shield. So, it was a nice little promo, and I liked the little seeds that were being planted throughout the night. It looked like they were going to have a brawl. Baron decides that this is not going to happen because Dolph and Drew have a tag team title match that night, and it was something else to go along with it. So they end up not having a brawl, and it's kind of where it is. Kind of ends on a note to go along with everything. And that's where they basically went for that segment. So the first match of the night, which was a decent time afterwards, was Finn Balor going up against Jinder Mahal. And, you know, I actually don't mind this. I think some people do have a little bit of issue with this one, but I'm not having the biggest issue with the factor that they're kind of making the Mixed Match Challenge a little bit more canon on the main shows of everything, which they kind of were doing here. So Alicia Fox joined up with Jinder Mahal, who they're tagging with each other in the Mixed Match Challenge, and Bayley joined up with Finn Balor, who they're tagging up in the Mixed Match Challenge as well, to go along with it. This was a decent enough match. I thought this was like like I said, I thought it was a decent enough match. It was very interesting to see how this one played out. So the main points of this one was that Sunil Singh trips up Finn Balor in the match. So in return, while Jinder Mahal was running the ropes, Bayley trips up Jinder Mahal. This causes Alicia Fox to go after Bayley. Bayley ends out knocking down Alicia Fox and then giving Sunil Singh a Bayley to belly, which, this is the funny thing. Apparently, this is when the crowd actually goes crazy for it, because they actually popped pretty big when Bayley went after Alicia Fox and went after Sunil Singh and did the Bayley to belly to him. So it's apparent that maybe the crowd does kind of want to cheer Bayley, but not really given much of not really given much to really want to cheer for on that one. But they do something here, and like all of a sudden they go kind of, well, I wouldn't say crazy, but they popped pretty big for it, which, like I said, it was a decent enough match. Finn Balor goes over in the end. Jinder Mahal gets in Sunil Singh's face after the match. Nothing much to really talk about outside of that bit. So here's the main talking points. Here's the main talking point for Monday Night Raw, because the next match that was out there was Natalya and the Bellas going up against the Riot Squad. And this match itself, the way it was in the end, was okay, but that's not the main talking point. The main talking point of this match was pretty early on in the match. So Liv Morgan was in the ring with Brie Bella. Brie Bella was doing the yes kicks to Liv Morgan, and every time she was doing it, she was like taking a quick look at the Riot Squad and pointing at them as like, this one's for you, this one's for you, and then eventually one catches Liv right in the face, which kind of makes her crumble, and then Brie throws another kick, and it catches her square like on the bridge of the nose, knocking her out, completely knocking her out. It's to the point, and it's one of those weird ones to this point in time where these, it's like kind of which side do you really go on for these ones? Is it accidental or was it reckless? I think it was a little both. Personally, I thought it was a little bit of both on this one, especially with the second kick. I felt like the second kick was more reckless than it was accidental. Obviously, let's put it on proper terms here. Brie did not mean to actually hurt Liv Morgan in this spot. We know that. We do know that. To go along with it. But since the spot that she's put in now, and then things like this do happen, and they've had some mistimed bits, and of course the botched suicide dive that almost really injured Brie Bella to go along with it. Now she's had a botched spot. I actually don't disagree with you. Like I said, I think it's accidental, but there is blame to be put on Brie. There is. Straight up. There is, because she did continue on with another bit. And then, I don't know why, even after the knockout portion, which did give Liv Morgan a concussion, so there's a good chance she's out of the Super Showdown match now to go along with it. So, oddly enough, I agree with you to a certain degree. Like, I'm not being as call out for her job or anything like that, or that she should never be in the ring again type of thing, like some other people are. But I do agree with you. There is some blame to be put there. And even though it was accidental and not meant to happen, and she was very sorry about it and apologized for it, apparently profusely, to go along with it, she still has to harbor the blame to go along with that side of everything on it, because there's a lot of people that, if this type of spot would have happened and she was they're not in the position that Brie's kind of in at this point in time, which is being considered one of the top stars in the women's division, she would, they would probably not have them around anymore. Well, I understand for you, but it is a talking point. I have yet to do a talk on it this week, so that we'll get by it, and then that's going to be it. Trust me on that one, because I won't talk about it anymore on that side. But I understand you sleeping angels on that one. I do understand that one, but it is a major talking point of this particular thing, of what had happened. But if you do take a look at it, there's a lot of people that wouldn't get picked up by WWE if they did do that. If they did something like that, they wouldn't even be considered to be in there. Yet, more than likely, not too much is going to happen here. More than likely, I think that, especially if Liv is going to be out of this Super Showdown match, they'll probably have Brie be on the outside for this match with Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella and everything to go along with that, and the rest of the Riot Squad. And it's one of those things, like I said, I completely understand that it was accidental, but it was also reckless, because it's just one of those bits that it's like, okay, the first one is full on, it's like, oh crap, I just did that, and then the second one happens, it's like, okay, that's more reckless than than anything. Like I said, do I agree with every sentiment of a lot of the wrestlers out there? Yeah, I do, because she didn't mean to do that to her, but it was still reckless in the end. So I don't know on that one, actually. I don't know on that one. She is still considered a top... Sasha is still considered a top star in the women's division, so who knows? Who knows on that side? But it's not an aspect of, do we call... like, I'm not the person that's going to be out there that's going to be calling for a job. That's up to WWE to do what they want to do with that particular one. More than likely, that will not happen. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And yes, do I put would I put a little bit of blame would I put blame to Brie Bella on that one? Absolutely, because it was reckless, but it was an accident as well to go along with it. For me personally, I know there are more people that are overly outraged by this one. I think they went a little far with the particular things that they were going with as well, with some of the things out there, because by all indications, she was very apologetic and obviously didn't mean it as well. And, you know, things like that do happen. They just got to prevent it from being overly reckless. So I felt that one was a little bit more reckless than anything. So hopefully things, you know, hopefully if Brie's going to be doing more matches and everything, hopefully she knocks out more of this ring rust and things like this don't happen again. Straight up. We'll leave it at that. And we spent a decent amount of time on that. Not too much, but a decent amount of time. And we will move forward on this one. It was the major talking point for Raw because it was otherwise not overly crazy. You did have a Stephanie and Triple H doing a Connor's Cure segment, which these things, I personally don't mind them being on Raw. I know they kind of kill the flow of the show. And everything, but I don't mind them being there. Mostly because I actually kind of like the kids having their own bit to go along with it. But that's how I feel. And let's see what's going on in the chat as we go further on here. Okay, we did address the whole bit of Sasha being fired. If this were Sasha Banks with the push that she would have been teamed up with Bayley again. Well, more than likely she is going to be teamed up with Bayley again, because there's heavy rumors about those tag team titles being on coming up here very soon. So I feel like they're going to be doing something with Sasha and Bayley with those tag titles to go along with it. Now that's going to be if what is going on with Sasha doesn't really hinder her from not being at Evolution or anything to go along with that, apparently, which is a sickness as well. It's either some kind of health issue. It's not like a bodily injury. It's more of a health issue going on with her. So it could be something that's as simple as her being gone for a week, or she could be gone for months. Who knows what's really going on that one? Who knows what's really going on that side? So we did have Dolph Ziggler approach Dean Ambrose again and kind of hammer in the things that he had said from the opening segments, like the Roman and Seth don't care about you, they use you, they didn't text you, everything to go along with that. Kind of a lot of the same from what we saw earlier. You had Chad Gable going up against Connor. Connor picked up a victory in what was a decent enough match, but I'll go ahead and say why. Why is Connor picking up a victory on that one, especially over Chad at that time? That's one of those bits. They did show a segment with Stephanie and Triple H leaving. Charlie Caruso asked Triple H about The Undertaker. He basically says, like, Undertaker thinks I need to have my soul saved. Well, I sold my soul a long time ago. After he did this heartwarming segment in the ring, he said he sold his soul a long time ago. Okay. Now, let's talk about what I thought was probably one of the best things on Monday Night Raw this week. The Revival versus Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre for the tag team titles. This was absolutely fantastic. This was a great tag team match with the tag team titles on the line. It started off with the crowd not necessarily being fully into it, but by the end, the crowd was completely into this match. The Revival showed that even though they lose in this one and Dolph and Drew keep the tag team titles, the Revival show is like, hey, look at what we can do. Look at what we can do in the ring. Here we go. This is what we have to offer. They put on a fantastic match. This was absolutely great. They were teasing well for the tag titles to be switched. Everything to go along with it. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. You had Elias in the ring, saying that Denver doesn't deserve a performance, and he brings out Kevin Owens to do the Kevin Owens show. Their guest was going to be Lio Rush, and Lio Rush is great. I've watched some of the stuff on 205 Live as well whenever I get a chance, and Lio Rush is absolutely great in the ring, but he's great on the mic as well. He has this cadence and voice about him that just screams the personality he's going for, and he's perfect to go with Bobby Lashley. Of course, they want him to come to the ring. Lio Rush isn't playing dumb on that one. I love the fact that they had a booster seat for him because, oh man, this was some good stuff. I liked what they did here. This does eventually have Lio Rush bring out Bobby Lashley, and they kind of chase off Elias and Kevin Owens, and then we do have the match with Bobby Lashley and Elias, which was a decent enough match. Kevin Owens does try to chase down Lio Rush, but runs into Lashley, which causes the DQ. And eventually, even they get their hands on Lio Rush again after he does his acrobatic flips, everything to go along with it, and eventually Bobby Lashley chases them off. Like I said, this is decent enough, and I like what they're doing here with Lio Rush. The thing that they're doing here with him is not only is he being a manager to Bobby Lashley, he's also getting to show off his acrobatic nature and being able to evade and doing everything that he can do against Kevin Owens and Elias to get away from them and try to at least cause some kind of distraction or something like that. So I do like how they're kind of displaying Lio Rush and how they're displaying Bobby Lashley to go along with it. I think this is good. Like I said, some stuff on Monday Night Raw is actually kind of good here. You did have Seth Rollins approach Drew McIntyre backstage, which he basically used everything that they used against Dean against Drew, which eventually has Drew approach Dean backstage. Like I said, they overkilled this a little bit throughout the entire night, which made you, it's like, oh, the turn's coming. No, it's not. It's not coming at all on that side of everything. You had Nia Jax going up against Alicia Fox. Nia Jax goes over. This is her first one-on-one match back from a knee injury. Decent, okay enough match. Nothing crazy there. And then, of course, the main event was The Shield going up against Baron Corbin. And who are his tag team partners going to be? Well, it ended up being the Authors of Pain. Okay, the Authors of Pain are going to be put into a main event area here. The Shield does go over in this one, which I thought was a very good tag team match, very good 6-man tag team match. And Baron Corbin actually took the fall, not one of the Authors of Pain. So it gives an indication that maybe they're trying to protect them a little bit as well. It's still a little weird with them having Drake Maverick on their side when they got rid of Paul Ellering at the beginning of their thing. Now they have Drake Maverick as the manager. I find that a little weird. I do find that a little bit weird, but all in all, I thought this was a very good 6-man tag. Dean does tease not joining with the Shield after the match for the celebration, but he runs into the ring, they do the fist bump, and they go off the air. Go off the air on that one for what I thought was, again, a fairly decent Monday Night Raw. Again, not overly crazy, not overly great, but pretty good. Pretty good in the end. So, let's go on to SmackDown. SmackDown for September 25th, 2018. This was good. I do thoroughly enjoy SmackDown at this point in time. They do a lot of good things with them, and they make people they do great things even with R-Truth. So it looked like we were going to start off with Miz TV, but it ends up being R-Truth and Carmella in the ring, and they started calling it Truth TV. So this was fun. This one was fun. Daniel Bryan was their guest. They even do this little bit in there of a 7-second dance break for the particular show, which I thought was actually kind of fun. Actually was kind of fun. And you could tell, like, Daniel Bryan was just tickled in the ring. If you just watch his face, like, the smile on his face, like, this is really happening. This is absolutely fun. I love this. Eventually, Miz does interrupt to go along with it. He goes off as like, first of all, Truth, what are you doing? And Truth was like, well, I beat you 2 weeks ago, so if you had a title, I would have had that. But since you didn't have a title, I took your TV show. Okay. Okay, our Truth logic. We'll go with it. We'll definitely go with that, I guess. I guess we'll go with that one. To go along with it. And then he does go on to Daniel Bryan, saying that Daniel Bryan, the only way that he is going to be able to win at Super Showdown is to do basically what The Miz does. The Miz will do anything that it takes to win a match, no matter what the means or how it's supposed to go. But Daniel Bryan always wants to play fair and everything to go along with that. So his words were that, Daniel, in order to win, you're going to have to break your moral code and you're going to have to cheat to win. This does eventually lead to Truth challenging Miz to a match because Miz wanted his Miz TV back. Well, he'll fight him for Truth will fight him for it. Of course, Miz doesn't want to fight him for it. He goes backstage, runs in the Page, is like, he wants Paige to just give him his show back. And Paige is like, actually, I kind of like his idea, so go fight for it. So it's like, so you have literally Miz and R-Truth fighting over a TV show. I thought that was good. I thought this was good. Which did lead right away to Miz versus R-Truth, and I thought was a good match. Miz does go over in this match, which was a good, like I said, good match. Instead of winning with the skull-crushing finale when he hit it, he decides to pick up the victory using Daniel Bryan's own finishing move, the running knee, on that side to pick up the victory, and kind of, you know, continuing on his taunting of Daniel Bryan and everything that Daniel Bryan stands for. So this led to a backstage segment, which was a Charlotte photo shoot, which is kind of crazy that you have Charlotte being the one getting the photo shoot when she's not the champion at this time, but you know, that's what it is. She gets attacked by Becky Lynch because Becky Lynch is not going to stand for that at this point. So she has motive on that one. She has proper motive on that one. You know, she's the champion. Why is she not getting the photo shoots? Why is Charlotte still getting the photo shoots? Charlotte's obviously just going to take the opportunity. It's like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. So she has a proper right to that. But then, of course, Becky has her own motives that are proper for her. It's like, hey, I'm the champion. I should be doing this too. So she attacks and beats down Charlotte. Stands over Charlotte with her foot standing on Charlotte as well. And basically tells the photo guys, like, now you can take the champ's photo. Now take the champ's photo. No, seriously, take the champ's photo. To go along with it. I like this. This was pretty good. Up next, you had Sheamus going up against Big E, which I thought was a pretty decent match, with Sheamus going over. The New Day did try to have this Say Something Nice challenge going on inside of the before the match, where they wanted to say something nice, where they didn't necessarily say anything nice, but then said something pseudo nice. Sheamus goes over with a bro kick in this match. I thought it was a pretty decent match. The Bar is basically with the massive advantage going into Super Showdown at this point in time. You had Paige has a talk with AJ backstage about their contract signing later in the night and says, please don't destroy everything. Those monitors, they cost a lot, everything on that side. It's like, come on. Please don't. Please don't. And it's like, I'm just there to sign a contract. And if I'm going to destroy anything, it's going to be Samoa Joe, which just Paige just throws her hands up. It's like, God dang. To go along with it. And I even like that the contract signing at the end of the show. It's like, Paige was like, we all know how this is going to go. They're going to come out here to sign a contract, but this is going to end in a brawl in some way, shape, or form. I like that they make mention to things like that. So up next, you had basically Rusev wanting to find out why Aiden English did what he did, outside the fact that Rusev was kind of a jerk to him last week and had been kind of a jerk to him before. Throughout the entire thing. So it's like, why did Aiden do what he did? He calls out Aiden English, which he does, which he comes out, and he shows a video package of everything great about Rusev Day with both Aiden English and Rusev from the start up to where they were at and everything. And he basically puts the blame on Lana. To go along with it. As soon as Lana got in there, Rusev Day went downhill, everything to go along with that. And of course, I like how Lana fires back, that it's like, hey, when I was managing Rusev, he was riding out on a tank at WrestleMania, destroying people to go along with it. And it's like, you know what, and Aiden plays this off perfectly. I thought this was great. So Aiden basically says, like, you know what, that's the one thing I like about you, is that you're honest. You're going to tell Rusev about what I said last week, everything to go along with that. You're always, you know, honest with Rusev. You're supportive, everything to go along with it. You're great. And then he just drops the line. It's like, but were you honest enough with Rusev to tell him about what happened in Milwaukee? And the crowd just like in stunned silence, like, oh, what happened? And even Rusev's like, Milwaukee? When was the last time we were in Milwaukee? And what happened? What's going on? And Aiden just like drops the mic, walks off. You did have a couple of backstage segments after this. Like I said, I thought those were absolutely great, and they did continue on with this throughout the entire night as well. You had Asuka and Naomi backstage, where Naomi was holding the punching style gloves for Asuka, and it's like Asuka was hitting them too hard for even Naomi at that point. You did have another segment with Rusev and Lana backstage, where they're going over everything, and it's like Lana's like, "You do believe me?" It's like, but what with Milwaukee, and everything is just going on with this whole Milwaukee thing, and even the crowd is starting to chant Milwaukee. So they're in Denver and they're chanting Milwaukee to go along with it. This was absolutely fantastic, and they've left intrigue for next week and everything to go along with it. Here, Becky Lynch comes up to Lana, basically says she's going to destroy Lana because she's like a pretender, or she's a pretender wanting to say she wants to compete on SmackDown, but she's really just nothing to go along with it. So they were going to have a match later in the night, as they're doing this whole thing where Lana's distracted by what's going on. You did have Rusev wish Lana luck, but like, she still feels like Rusev doesn't believe her in that bit. After her match with Becky Lynch, which was a decent enough match as well, it was probably a little bit more competitive than I thought it was going to be, but it was, like I said, it was a decent enough match. Becky Lynch picks up the win with a disarmer, and they cut to Aiden English backstage, and he's like, so what was going on with that? It's like, well, I'm not just going to tell you, I'm going to show you. And it's like, wait, what? Next week, I'm going to have proof, video proof of what happened over there, over in Milwaukee to go along with it. Now, if he was doing it proper, he should have just had the video evidence with him at that time. To go along with it. Why make people wait a week to go along with that side? But they leave you intrigued in what's going on. I loved it. This is good stuff. They do good on SmackDown with their storylines. Up next, you had Ty Dillinger going up against Shinsuke Nakamura, which I thought this was a pretty decent match, with Ty Dillinger looking like he was close to picking up the victory, as this does happen. And I love how this is being kind of coincidental. As it looks like Ty Dillinger is close to picking up victory, he gets attacked by Randy Orton, and Randy Orton just lays him out, destroys him, and does a draping DDT to the floor to Ty Dillinger, and then just ending with a 10. And I love the whole aspect of how frustrated Shinsuke Nakamura is with this entire situation, because this happened with Jeff Hardy, and now it's happened with Ty Dillinger. So he's just like, and starts walking away, and then he decides, you know what, screw it, Kinshasa to Ty Dillinger, and Ty Dillinger takes the most wicked bump that he possibly could for that, because he threw himself. Probably so. It's probably so. We'll see how that one goes. It's intriguing, though. It's intriguing storytelling. It's like, oh, what's happening next week? I like it. Even if it ends up being bad, at least you're intrigued going into the next week, and you want to see what's going on. Which is the whole point of it, more so than what you usually get with Monday Night Raw. On that side of everything. We'll be fair with it. I thought Raw was a good show, but you're not always intrigued for what's going to happen next week. Here, they're leaving you with some intrigue. It's like, hey, let's have something happen next week. But first of all, for Ty Dillinger, he took the most sick bump that he possibly could, because he eats the Kinshasa from Shinsuke, and his head just like bounces off the LED board on the back to go along with it. So like double like craziness on that side. So Randy Orton was backstage, and he ends up getting interviewed. I don't know who the new interview guy is for that one. I'll remember the name here eventually. And so he basically asks us, like, so is Ty gonna be your next victim? He's like, no, Ty's not my next victim. It's just like, seriously, this Perfect 10 stuff just pisses me off and walks off. That's literally his whole motivation. It's like, this pisses me off. I'm going to beat the crap out of him. And this could literally lead to other things. It's like, is this literally going to be one of those moments of Randy Orton just doing stuff because he's angry at this? Or is he finding, or do we get his next quote-unquote victim of what's going on? I like what they're doing with Randy Orton right now. I really do. I think that they're doing some good stuff. So this leads us to the main event segment of the night, which is AJ Styles, Samoa Joe contract signing, which Samoa Joe no-shows. AJ Styles ends up cutting a promo, signing the contract, saying, you know, he's just waiting for Samoa Joe to attack him from behind, anything on that side. What's he going to be doing? Well, Samoa Joe was basically doing a stream or a Periscope or whatever it ends up being technically on that time, or Facebook Living, something on that sense. He was doing some kind of stream from his phone. He was in a neighborhood area. Lo and behold, where was he? Well, they were saying he was at AJ Styles' house because they put Styles on a mailbox, because wrestlers do that. Okay, we'll think about that one for a brief second. We all know AJ Styles' real name, is the AJ portion, which is Alan Jones. I would imagine he wouldn't have Styles on his mailbox, but it works for the story. We'll go with that, because I thought this was absolutely great. So you had Samoa Joe cutting this promo on AJ Styles about being away from his house and everything to go along with that. But look where I'm at. I'm here, and I'm going to do things kind of my way. It's like, should I just let myself in? No, don't do that. That'd be rude. That would be rude. As AJ is like, and he's literally saying, dude, through the entire, for a good portion of this. It's like, come on, no, don't do this. Dude, which was also kind of entertaining to go along with it. He was throwing that whole aspect of worry in there to go along with it. But you also kind of get a sense that AJ Styles is kind of getting is actually kind of liking where the storyline's going, because Joe's kind of just doing all this weird stuff to go along with it. But he's conveying the worry about his family and everything to go along with that. As Samoa Joe rings the doorbell and then says, "Daddy's home," and they just cut the black. They just cut the show right then and there. Absolutely fantastic way to end the show. I thought this was great sets of promos going into it, and leaves you intrigued again for something else coming up for next week on that side of everything. This was a great SmackDown. I absolutely like this SmackDown. The matches weren't absolutely fantastic, but dude, the storytelling left you intrigued for the next week. So that's the whole point. That's the whole point of everything on that one. At least how I feel on that time. So let's go into the Mixed Match Challenge. We'll be pretty quick about this one. Mixed Match Challenge, which happened right after SmackDown. You had Mickie James and Bobby Lashley going up against Alicia Fox and Jinder Mahal in a Raw side match, which I thought this was a pretty fun match. You have this whole bit with Alicia Fox and Jinder Mahal continuing to argue over the whole Shanti thing, and like what should you be doing, or like Jinder trying to calm down Alicia Fox, but Alicia Fox trying to bring out the like super vicious side of Jinder Mahal to go along with it. We'll see how that one plays out throughout the entire series of Mixed Match Challenge, because I think Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox have a match with Bayley and Finn Balor for the Mixed Match Challenge this week. Mickie James and Bobby Lashley picked up the victory in this one. At least that was a pretty decently fun match. You had Lio Rush bringing out Bobby Lashley and doing his thing again with Sunil Singh. I thought this is some good stuff. They even had a little bit where it's like you have Jinder and Alicia still arguing backstage as Carmella walks by. It's like, okay, I'm going to show you how it's done now. Which means Carmella and R-Truth were going up against Asuka and Miz. This was good. This was good. This is absolutely just entertaining for a match. Again, I like the loose feel of the mixed match challenge. It just feels like they're doing things differently. And both these teams just work. They do a dance break, which was absolutely fantastic. So Carmella and R-Truth start dancing, which causes Asuka to start dancing around as they're still chanting for Truth TV throughout the crowd as well. And they go along with it. And then Miz is like, that he basically says he has a better moonwalk than Carmella, and literally does a moonwalk, like doing the slow jumping and everything. Like doing what you would do on the actual moon. He took it in a literal sense to do a moonwalk. And then the pace kind of picks up after that. The match ending with Asuka putting the Asuka lock on Carmella and picking up the victory for Miz and Asuka. And what I thought, again, was a good match. Good and fun match. I liked it. It was a very enjoyable match. So, let's bring this to NXT for the night of September the 26th, 2018, and I thought this was a pretty decent show as well, with actually a pretty good match what I didn't think was going to be all that good to go along with it. So it starts off with William Regal basically saying basically coming out to give an update on the whole Aleister Black attack situation. He gets interrupted immediately by the Undisputed Era. I love what the Undisputed Era was doing. It's like, what are you doing, Regal? Why are you playing Sherlock Holmes right now? You should be more worried about preventing this from happening again, everything to go along with it. And they want to know what Regal's going to do about it. Well, Regal implies that they did it because, well, I was going to talk about this, and lo and behold, you interrupt me. I don't think the Undisputed Era did it. I have my sneaking suspicions of who actually did attack Aleister Black, and it's actually an interesting one, and it's based off of another interview that happened in here to go along with it. It's just an interesting theory. So basically Adam Cole wanted his title match because he says Ricochet is ducking him, everything to go along with that is like, well, Regal's like, well, you never asked for your title match, and then you ruined Pete Dunne's opportunity. So yeah, you'll get your match in 2 weeks against Ricochet, but you'll also have Pete Dunne to contend with as well. So it's going to be a triple threat match with Ricochet and Pete Dunne. And then, of course, Roger Strong and Kyle O'Reilly wanted to know what they were going to do about the War Raiders. Well, they get a tag team title shot in 3 weeks. So we're going to have a tag team title shot coming up here with the War Raiders and Roger Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. And you have a North American Championship match coming up in 2 weeks. So there should be some interesting stuff. And here's where I think we have an interesting bit of who possibly did attack Aleister Black. Up next was a Johnny Gargano interview. Basically, he's saying that, you know, after the whole thing that had been going down, you know, lost the Velveteen Dream, everything to go along with that, everything that's happened with Tommaso Ciampa, he had to go leave for a little bit and find himself, which apparently he ends up doing, which makes you give an indication that he's going to go further off the deep end at some point in time to go along with it. So as he walks away, he meets up with Candice, and Lacey Evans gets in Candice's face and basically tells Candice, is like, you shouldn't be thinking about your own career, you should be more supportive to Johnny and to go along with that. And then she tries to brush up against Johnny, which causes Candice to go off the deep end. And basically Johnny had to hold her back, which is probably going to lead to a match between Johnny Gargano or not Johnny Gargano, but Lacey Evans and Candice LeRae, which should be a pretty decent match as well to go along with it. But that leaves me the intriguing thing of who attacked Aleister Black. I don't necessarily think it's going to be Johnny Gargano, like a lot of people are thinking. What if it was Candice LeRae that did it? That gives another reason for Johnny Gargano to go a little bit further off the deep end, but not be that person who actually went overboard to go along with it. He didn't, do this heinous attack on that side of everything. Because I know WWE does not typically do the whole man versus woman thing. They do the mixed match challenge, but they don't generally interact with each other too much in the terms of physicality nature of everything. But what if it was Candice, not Johnny Gargano? But also, there's other aspects to it, maybe Cassius Ohno or EC3 or something like that as well down the line. But that's an interesting bit. If you're going to go on the Gargano side, it would be interesting if they had Candice do it instead of having Johnny be the one that did it. Just throwing that one out there. I think that's kind of it would be an interesting one of what they go with and what ends out happening. I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon on that side of everything. Velveteen Dream had a promo, or he had an interview. He doesn't like talking about anyone else. He does not want to talk about the guy who got attacked or the guy who did attack him, and basically said Tommaso Ciampa to go along with it. And he said, I'm not a snitch, but the writing's on the wall. And basically implying that Ciampa was the one that did it. So that probably is going to lead to Ciampa going after Velveteen Dream. That might be our next that might be the takeover title match as well. You had Lars Sullivan going up against a jobber. Lars is pretty much destroying the jobber throughout the entire thing until EC3 attacks Lars Sullivan, causing the DQ. And he does chase off Lars Sullivan, but as Lars Sullivan is backing off, he basically has that big smile on his face. Some pretty decent stuff here. Nothing too crazy about it. Regal is giving an interview backstage, and finally giving a little bit more of an update of where he thinks everything is with the investigation. And then there's just a massive amount of knocking from inside of his office, because he's outside of his office. And lo and behold, Nikki Cross is the one that comes out of his office. And I love Regal's bit. It's like, what were you doing in my office? And she's just like, I want another match. I want another match with Bianca Belair. And everything to go along with that. And you had... and of course, Nikki goes, as she's walking off, it's like, Nikki knows. Nikki knows, because she knows who attacked Aleister Black. And I love how Regal's like, it's like, do you know what Nikki knows? It's like, I don't think anybody knows what Nikki knows. I thought this was some good stuff. I would actually recommend finding that if you can, and watching it if you have not already. I thought it was pretty good. We had the Mighty going up against the Street Profits. I like this little bit here because the Street Profits were showing themselves a little bit more character. They don't pick up the victory in the end. The Mighty do pick up the victory in this one with a roll-up in the end, but I thought this was a very good match and a good way of showing off the Street Profits in a different light, because the Mighty come out with the Solo Cup and Montez Ford's chains that he would have around his neck. And they do the poses, everything on that one. And what do the Street Profits do? They don't come out there all lovey-dovey, dancing around, everything like that. Serious business, just straight to the ring. And they go, and it goes like throughout and it goes that way throughout the entire match, that they were basically doing more serious business instead of just having fun like they traditionally do. I thought this was pretty good. The Mighty do pick up the victory in the end. I thought this was good, a good match, but it was a good way of showing a little bit of extra character work from the Street Profits. You were getting to see a little bit more from them. You have Vanessa Bourne going up against Kairi Sane. This was an okay match as well. Kairi Sane picks up the victory with the insane elbow. Literally, like, this was one of those where she literally like landed right across her midsection on that particular one. That one was probably not the most fun to take, but the match was fine. I thought it was pretty good on that side of everything. You had Shayna Baszler come out. She said she was going to invoke her rematch clause, and didn't say when. But Kairi Sane is like, okay, you can have it, and you're going to have it at Evolution. So we have our NXT title match at Evolution. It's going to be Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. Should be another really good match, based off of their last one that they had at NXT TakeOver. Should be a good one. You had Keith Lee. He ran into Kona Reeves, who was about to do an interview, and Kona Reeves was basically saying that, or trying to imply limitless into terms of saying, trying to make a fat joke or something to go along with that, on that side of everything, which does cause Keith Lee to challenge Kona Reeves for I would imagine next week or somewhere down the line. This was pretty good as well. I thought this was pretty decent. You had, and then of course the main event of the night was Otis Dosovich going up against Tommaso Ciampa, and this was by far the best match I've seen from Otis so far. One-on-one or tag, this is by far the best. Him and Tommaso Ciampa worked great together. I like the whole aspect of Otis, you know, trying to beat him out with his power, while Tommaso Ciampa was doing everything that he can to outthink him, outsmart him throughout the entire thing. He didn't necessarily have to use his brutality until he outsmarted Otis to go along with it. On that side, he even goes as far as putting the referee in front of him so he could put a thumb to the eye of Otis. He does a draping DDT to the ring apron, which looked absolutely sick, and then did another draping DDT into the ring to pick up the victory. I did like the whole aspect of Ciampa wanting to walk out of the match, but Tucker Knight comes down to keep him in the match. But in the end, Tommaso Ciampa, using his best heel tactics, because, you know, as much as you want to think he's doing cool things, he's still just the best heel that's going in NXT, and now he has theme music to go along with it on that one. But overall, I thought that was pretty good. Pretty good match. A good way of ending NXT. So we also had this week with the Mae Young Classic as well. I need to get those matches up. I forgot to type everything out, but it did start off with, let me think. Let me remind myself. It was Rachel Evers going up against, oh, I don't know how to pronounce the name. But this was fantastic. I thought this opening match was absolutely fantastic. But let's get that up so I can get the names again. So you had Rachel Evers going up against Hirio Matsumoto, which this was absolutely fantastic. So Matsumoto is being considered as Lady Godzilla, everything to go along with that, and I thought this was absolutely fantastic for an opening match. Both of them trading off throughout the entire match, with the Matsumoto picking up the victory in the end. Up next, you had Nicole Matthews going up against Isla Dawn. This was another pretty good match. Interesting note is that, yes, Nicole Matthews goes over here, so we're going to get to see her on the Mae Young Classic again, but apparently, due to some crazy rule, because she's from the European area, but apparently, she's been coming over to the U.S. to do work based on a visitor's visa versus a work visa, which now means she's banned from coming to the US for 5 years. Really? Yep, that just happened. I thought this was a pretty good match. Nicole Matthews does go over in the end, so we will get to see her on that portion of TV, but apparently we're not going to have her in the US anytime soon. Again, on that one, because of, well, rules that I don't think are necessarily that good, but they're rules that there are for right now until they get changed. So let's hopefully get those changed at some point in time. And maybe WWE would put her in the UK division as well. If they do want her around, maybe they'll give her a NXT UK contract, and maybe things will kind of work out that way while this whole thing goes over. Up next, you had Tiana Conti, or Conchi as they pronounce it, going up against Jessie Elbon. This was okay. Tiana goes over in this match with a spinning sidewalk, it was kind of like a spinning sidewalk slam. So she had her thrown to the back and then did kind of turned her around and did a sidewalk slam. I thought it was okay. It wasn't really that great. Tiana goes over in this particular one. Like I said, it was okay. Up next, you had Io Shirai going up against Zaya Brookside, which actually is the daughter of one of the NXT trainers as well. So apparently this is also the first time he ever saw her in a match. He had not been able to actually see her in a match in the other areas as well when she was doing everything. But I thought this was a pretty good match. It was definitely more of a showcase for Io Shirai than it was anything. But Zaya did get some offense in, and I thought it was pretty decent. I thought it was a pretty decent match and a pretty, and overall still a very enjoyable show. I've been enjoying the Mae Young Classic this year. It's been actually pretty good through the first round matches, and now we're going to have the second round matches starting next week. And then, of course, after that, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the finals will happen to go along with everything. Honestly, I thought it was another good episode of the Mae Young Classic. I've been enjoying it so far, and we'll continue on watching that to go along with everything. So, with that being said, that's pretty much everything I got for you guys this week. For GodSaw's Turnbuckle. We did not run as long as we did last week, though we really went on about that whole bit with Crown Jewel and everything last week as well, so it kind of made things go a little bit longer on that side. And we'll see how everything ends out going throughout this entire week. After this, I'm going to probably be working on that Soul Calibur footage. Just to let you guys know. So not everything on this channel comes out is wrestling, but I have some Soul Calibur footage from the network tests that have been going on, so we'll get to editing that, and hopefully I'll get those up throughout the week as well. Also, like I said before, we will be doing predictions to Super Showdown. I will not be doing live reactions to Super Showdown. I will not. No, that's too early. That will be too early for me to do live reactions to. So that will not happen. But we will do a review for Super Showdown, and more than likely that will more than likely be the main focus for next week's GodSaw's Turnbuckle as well, versus going through Raw and SmackDown. But we will still go over NXT Mixed Match Challenge and Mae Young Classic as well to go along with it. So, with that being said, absolutely, Batman. Same time, same channel. We will see you next week. And of course, I thank you guys for watching. For everybody who tuned in live, thank you guys. Take care on that side of everything. For everybody who watched a little bit later on, thank you as well for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. I hope you guys enjoy the content coming to the channel this week as well. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your night. Take care, everybody.